Howdy y'all, this is Texas Gaming Industries here, and welcome back to another episode of my Let's Play of Transport Fever 2. In the previous episode, we headed to the island of Java, learned how to use the hike tool, as well as learning how to use signals to operate more than one train on a single piece of track, and also transported passengers, coffee beans, and sugarcane. And in this episode, we are going to continue our campaign as we head towards Scotland to see what needs to be done. As you may notice, there are two things been going on so far. For one, the video is stuttering every time the camera moves around too fast or rotates too fast. Hopefully I'll be able to fix that problem sooner or later. And the second, there's no music playing. I'm going musicless as the first episode, the music I found out isn't basically created in-house. So, basically, I don't want to have problems with YouTube's music catching algorithm or something. So we're just gonna go musicless as we head towards the campaign again.
Mankind is constantly creating amazing new inventions. Get involved in It's the dawning of the 20th in the north of Britain, in the midst of the Victorian era. The industrial city of Glasgow is bursting at the seams. The factories are working full blast. But the competition is not sleeping. In terms of economic issues, the countries in continental Europe have long since caught up. Something must be done to stop the cradle of the Industrial Revolution from falling behind. Anyone who doesn't toe the line now will fall by the wayside.
Indeed, as we're heading up to Scotland and the city of Glasgow to see what can be done to fix this problem. As you may notice, in the previous episode, at the end, all my free bonus tasks have been unlocked, but now they are locked, because this game has now received an update, meaning there's now waypoints for ships, whistle boards for trains, as well as various new gameplay mechanic improvements and game fixes. So, what happened in Mighty Miracle and Coffee and Colonialism, it's the same thing here. The bonus tasks are locked and we have yet to complete them. But that doesn't matter. We could get this done, and off camera, I could take care of these two. So, let's head to Scotland and see what's up.
Scotland. The land of enlightenment. The land of progress. The land of science. The land of industry. The Glasgow City Council wants to modernize the transport infrastructure so that the city remains the vibrant industrial metropolis that it is today in the future as well. With your transport company, you're as good as predestined for this sort of contract. The shipyards on the Firth of Clyde have been famous for their sturdy boats for quite some time. New processes for the mass production of high-quality steel are now opening up previously undreamt-of possibilities. A member of the City Council recently proposed to you during a pheasant hunt whether you'd like to supply his friends in the shipbuilding industry with this essential material. Coal and iron are available in abundance in the areas around Glasgow. Off to the blast furnace with them.
Indeed. So welcome to Scotland. As you may notice, compared to our last video and the first video of the series, the terrain looks different. This is the temperate landscape. Basically, normal sky, lush green pastures, and some hills and mountains in between. This is basically the standard of all the three types of terrain, with dry being associated with the Americas, and tropical being associated with the Asian equipment. So temperance and abundance, basically, is related with European machines. But as you can see, Glasgow is kind of big, along with the nearby town of Fort William, along with several industries on the map with a large amount of water around here. I have a feeling we're going to learn how to use ships at this type of tutorial. Along with some of the industries, we have a fishery, and a distillery producing whiskey, and a steel mill. In the past, transport tycoon players have to take loads of iron ore to a steel mill to produce steel. You may think that's the case now, but that's not it. It also requires coal, and you may think it only requires 1 unit of iron ore and 1 unit of coal to produce steel. That's not possible, as, according to the rule, you need to deliver 2 loads of iron ore and 2 loads of coal to basically produce 1 load of steel. For example, if we delivered 10 units of iron ore and coal respectively, we would only be able to make 5 units of steel. So, before we get started, let's basically get a passenger train going to earn some capital. We'll put the station at 120 meters, and place it here, and place it here at Fort William. Since the end of our second video, we now have full control on what our company will do. We can place track anywhere, we can place buildings anywhere, and we are basically fully free. Of course, there are some things that the game will limit us to do, some missions later on, such as the introduction of boundaries where tracks and other things cannot be built through. But it's the charm of this whole quirky thing, too. And connect to Glasgow. At the same time, we should also serve the steel industry. Let's place a station to unload the loads of steel in the industrial district, and place one near the steel mill, such as here. And, keeping the track level, we'll eventually go down, connect here, and build a passing loop here, so our 2 trains won't have to wait at a signal for too long. Curvature, and there we go. Not what I was expecting, but it'll work. We'll also want to connect this, because now it's time for our next new transport, trolleys and trams. Now, trams and trolleys are similar to buses, but they ride on rails, so to speak. Wherever the tracks go, the trolleys will follow it. So, we'll place down a trolley depot. I just remembered that since I played this mission before, there is no electric trams. So I'll have to replace all of this tram track with non-electrified tram track. I'm pretty sure we'll see an electric tram very soon. Remove the catenary and then connect it here. And now let's place down some stations. Let's put some here in the commercial district. Put some in residential. Put some near the train station. And put some in the industrial. And as for the town of Fort William, we'll put one near the station and put another one up here. We'll also put down the bus depot, well, a road vehicle depot, and now we also gotta finish laying down the road work for our coal and iron factories. So, we'll build over the tracks carrying the steel train, travel beside the railway for a little bit, and connect that together. And finally, let's basically construct a little bit of a bridge over the railway. If the bridge is not gonna cause a bit of a hiccup, sometimes I want to build a bridge, but the bridge just curves like this. It's absolutely degrading. So, let's basically add that. That looks good. And then curve. And then curve it down here. And now the coal mine and the iron ore mine are now connected to the steel mill. Now we need to place down some road depots. Well, road stations. We'll put down one here. Considering we have 3 already, we could basically extend this to 12 units. This will make it quite big. Same for the one serving the iron ore mine. And another one here. We'll place down another road depot, and then start purchasing some equipment. First of all, we'll need a passenger train. So we'll mark the 2 stations, give it a color, call this one the passenger train. Then we'll need a freight train, full load, 10 minutes, put in freight train A, at the trolley route, call this one trolley A. Wait, not trolley A, trolley service A. And then trolley service B. That's funny. How come it's not going that direction? It should be in a good direction now. Oh, for a second I thought that horse-drawn carriage was an automobile. I'm like, that's 1880. Automobiles are not around yet, supposedly in Europe. And we'll also start one here for buses in Fort William. We'll call this one bus service. And let's add the 2 truck convoys. Well, not truck, but wagon convoys. This one will pick up coal. And this one will carry iron ore. Alright. Now we need to purchase our vehicles. Oh, I actually forgot to build a small depot for our trains. If there's one thing I actually forgot to mention in the previous game, well, in the previous map, is that you can actually color. Well, I think I did show you in the first episode, but it's not just limited to road vehicles. You can basically repaint any vehicle in your fleet. Speaking of which, I also got to put down some signals to make our 2 trains not crash into each other. So we'll get a Borsig, give it that dark blue livery, and get some coaches behind it. And as for our freight train, we'll use the new German BR-53 Prius G3 060 and about, let's see, 60 units of steel and contained in about, well, in a lot of freight wagons. We'll put in an order for 10 of these to deliver iron ore, and another 10 to... Oh, dang, I've selected stagecoach instead of this. We'll assign them to wagon convoy A. And as for the trolleys, we'll order 4 of these. Put on trolley A, trolley service B. Seems like the trains are heading into the station and then turning around for some reason. Let's see. Here we go. We gotta fix some of these problems at some of these stations because it says track 1. Wait, hold on. Let me see. Then trolley B must be having this problem. Let's see. There we go. And, of course, we can't forget our buses. Purchase 4, and then put them to work on the bus service. And now, our operations are ready to begin. The passenger train will make its way to the station to pick up this load of passengers, while our freight train will wait for a signal to proceed down towards the industrial district to be turned around and head towards the steel mill. As we can see, the iron ore mine and the coal mine are at full operation now, and they need all of our transports. As I stated in the opening, there's now the new whistle post, which can be placed to tell trains to blow their whistles. Very useful if you have grade crossings with tunnels. So our goods train will quickly make its way towards the freight station near Glasgow, and then set off for the steelworks. As our our wagon convoys have fully arrived to pick up their loads of iron ore. Considering they're carrying about, let's see, I believe they're carrying like 50 units? Yeah, 50 units, which basically means, let's see, 15. This means we will be able to deliver about 25 units of steel, possibly. Because, like I stated before, if we deliver 10 units of iron ore and 10 units of coal, we would only be able to produce 5 units of steel. So how much you deliver is divided by 2, which will basically calculate on how much of a processed product will be produced. So once 50 loads of coal have been delivered, it will take 50 loads of iron ore to produce 25 units of steel for delivery.
The shipyards crave steel for colossal tubs. The bigger the better. But it doesn't get there all by itself.
Now, steel is in full production. But as you notice, the steel mill will shut down automatically when there's not enough iron ore or not enough coal available. So we'll have to figure out why those convoys are not going in. Let's just swap the destinations around. The iron ore wagons will deliver the iron ore here and the coal there. That'll make it a little better. And our train is basically with nearly 20 units of steel on board. I'm pretty sure once the steel production starts up again, more iron ore being delivered, we can then basically start delivering more steel in. Well, what am I gonna say? Yeah. Once our train leaves, we can stockpile more iron ore, and then we'll be able to produce more steel with a lot of coal that we have left over. So we only need 10 units of steel, but let's just basically deliver our loads of steel anyway. Through the passing loop, and heading straight up towards the freight depot. Though our trolley will have to wait for the train to pass.
Your deliveries of high-quality steel make it possible to build particularly seaworthy ships. Time to make use of these robust steamers. Sustenance for the city's working masses is found out on the islands. Delectable fish swim in the sea. And the distilleries on the Hebrides produce an absolutely exquisite whiskey. It's called the Water of Life. Get out there and explore the area. Every ship needs a harbor, and your venture needs a particularly good one.
Now we unlocked shipping, aka water transport. So, as you notice, trains, compared to road and rail stations and depots, cargo and passenger harbors can come in both small and large. Of course, you'll be using small ships in the beginning, but as ships get bigger, you'll have to use the larger depots. So let's put it down to small and then connect it to the road here.
Help to build a shipyard so that it won't be long before you can call a beautiful ship your own.
And all ships require a shipyard. So let's put that on the map here.
Buy a stately boat that will sail you safely through the wild waters of the Western Isles on your daring expedition.
Before we do that, we also need to get some transport ready to deliver the loads of whiskey coming in from the ship. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. And we'll also place down a truck unloading stop in this area to make it a lot easier to deliver the loads of, well, whiskey and fish later on. And we also need a road depot here too. Let's set up another route. Convoy C. Fill it up with a 10-minute waiting time. And purchase about 10 more of these. As for our ships, we only have one. The Wilhelm I, a ship that was built by support of King Wilhelm of Württemberg, the first steamship on Lake Constance in Germany. So it's a small ship, but it's definitely
Explore the Western Isles to obtain whiskey for the city.
And now we can start operating a route. We'll start off at Glasgow Port. Well, actually, Port Allan, and then deliver it to Glasgow. Full load, 10 minutes, and we can also use waypoints. The arrow will basically showcase on what direction the ship will travel. So we can basically make the ship go through this crevice here. But you need to also make sure that this area is capable of shipping. The green areas around on the water showcase that the ships can travel through here. If there's no green area, even though there's water, the ship won't be able to use it. Ships often basically use the routes that are available for shipping, as they won't have to worry about basically going around and stuff. So, speaking of which, we need to give this ship a proper name. Let's call it the SS Scotch. And let's put it to work. Speaking of which, we'll also have to name this. We'll name it the SS Scotch as well. So our ship will turn around and head straight towards straight to Port Allan Harbor, where the distillery is waiting for us.
Industry is buzzing. Thanks to your services, its need for steel is always covered. In contrast, a lack of personnel looms on the horizon. Nowadays, the city's working class is outrageously spoiled. The workforce is rebelling more and more against the prevailing working conditions. On the other hand, in the Highlands, countless hungry people wait gratefully for employment. All that needs to be done is to get them to the city. Supply the city of Glasgow with workers none the worse for wear who haven't fallen victim to the Union's pipe dreams yet.
Now, the steam up to the harbor, we'll probably might need to rework that. So, we'll just do this, and this, fill up with a full load, call this the SS Scotch again, and then buy the ship called the SS Scotch again. Oh, the bonus task.
These days, big landowners' fleecy balls of wool now graze where families of farmers once cultivated their patches. Lady McDougal asks for help. She wants to know if all her little sheep are still together.
So let's do this mission.
Help with accounting, and look to see if all the sheep are still there.
And we also completed our transporting people task. Great. Let's just assign this to the SS Scotch route. Hopefully it's working this time. So let's see. 2, 3, 4.
All the people in charge have dozed off from all the counting.
Okay, that's basically a joke. You count sheep and you fall asleep. So we'll use the bulldozer to make some noise to wake up.
Oh. What's going on here? Oh yeah. Inventory's over and done with. The sheep are all there. Madam, sir.
Alright, that's one done. And it seems like Glasgow is starting to do good. I mean, we got steel coming in. That's going to grow the residents by 20%. Destinations, both with our services and their own source of transportation, is growing pretty well. Though the traffic is not that great and the emissions are bad. So the population will only grow to 286 compared to 220 previously. So yes, now our dockside here at Port Ellen now has barrels of whiskey ready to be taken to market. And as for the SS Scotch, let's see, let's give it a much more Scotchy color. This one looks pretty good. Or okay, that's something I wasn't expecting. The ships don't normally blow their horns.
The new workers from the Highlands are remarkably productive as they slave away. To keep them in a good mood and make sure they don't fall for any kinds of rebellious activities, precautionary sedation is called for. Whiskey from the Western Isles is excellently suited to this purpose. Supply the city with cheap booze that pacifies the dissatisfied so that subversive activities don't get started. Plunge into the wonderful world of spirits. Thanks to your supply, no one will be left high and dry.
Indeed, now we need to deliver whiskey into town. And I feel like I need to work on this convoy. We'll basically use this. Actually, I think I might be able to make it a lot better if I just do it on this side.
Without fail, some of the whiskey oddly disappears in transit. Is it likely that it evaporates out on the open seas? Is it the legendary angel share that imperceptibly vanishes there? If it is, then the angels must be awfully thirsty.
Now we need to figure out what our whiskey is going.
A ship sails through the locks of the Inner Hebrides, rolling from side to side in peculiar curves. Word has it that cheerful singing coming from the steamer was heard on shore.
Let's investigate the ship.
Captain Klein says the ferrymen are very poorly paid, so they might have occasionally treated themselves to a sip from the cargo. That just won't do, of course. If at all, then they ought to get drunk like self-respecting people do it, inside a good pub where it's nice and cozy.
And now the pub is unlocked, which requires alcohol. So basically, not only will we be supplying whiskey to the town, but we'll also be supplying whiskey to the pub as well. A good source of extra revenue in case we have a lot of whiskey on hand. Speaking of which, we might as well add another ship to the fleet. And this one, number 2, will be the SS Spirits. So the Scotch and the Spirits will basically be handling the loads of alcohol between the distillery and Glasgow. I guess with the introduction of this new update, I think ships will basically blow their horn or blow their whistle once they near a dockside port. Our ship is made 463,000, so that basically will cover its operational costs. Let's see. Not gonna work. It's fine. So now our trucks are loaded up with fresh barrels of whiskey and taking it down to the pub. All the while, our passenger train is doing pretty well. So it's even able to cover its operational expenses. Let's actually have a look at our routes. The only one that's not making a profit is our freight train and our wagon convoy C. But all the other forms of transport, they're making quite a steady profit. And our wagons have just arrived with their loads of whiskey for the pub and for the town's residents. Soon enough, the town's population will grow, and now it's going to go to 353.
Thanks to you, throats are well lubricated all over Glasgow. But on an empty stomach, the water of life makes people anything but lively. What's required is a sound basis in the form of solid food. A new dish is currently on everyone's lips. Deep-fried fish with deep-fried potatoes. What a culinary delight! Help this masterpiece of British cuisine to triumphant progress. Your services are going to stuff the city's jaws and provide fishing operations on the Atlantic with record sales.
Now we're going to one of our last formed commodities on the map, and the last one needed for Glasgow, fish. So, basically connect our track to the freight station, and then reconnect it to the main line, connect it here. Which means now we'll have to add a signal here and here. So now, our steel train is not the only one that's going to be operating on this line. It's now going to be both a steel and a fish train. Let's place down a freight station here at the fishery to load it up. And then we'll assign a train to pick up the loads of fish and take it to Glasgow, where fresh fish and chips can be made. And it's a good thing too, because there are several restaurants and various other commercial style buildings that need fish. Well, not just making fish and chips, of course, but also to basically sell to the residents to eat, of course. But since the fishery is on the line, the passenger line, we'll basically need a double track.
The fish out in the Atlantic leap happily into the nets, all on their own. Thanks to the railroad, the merchandise is even still fresh when it arrives in town.
Indeed. Now that we connected the fishery, we now just need to do is just deliver.
Slime you, as they say around here. Lately, people have been quenching their thirst and staying dry at the same time.
Okay, seems like that went off a little bit.
A mysterious stone circle is going to transport you into the past, where you can help James Fraser, an equally courageous and passionate man, to win the decisive Battle of Culloden against the English Redcoats and write history in the process.
Oh yeah, it's now time to basically focus on our final special mission. This is fabled or fabled star or something like that. And since our train is basically stuck, we'll have to turn it around. And we'll also have to place down some signals here. And they're also one way. Not great. Now then, let's have a look.
The stones don't reveal their secret to just anyone. Prove that you are worthy of their wonders. How is this achieved? Well, that's written in the stars.
Indeed. So, there's secretly a code somewhere on the map. But, since the last time I played, I actually figured out the code. By removing all the stations, this is the code that we need to get. 1, 3, 5, 4, 2. And hopefully this is the correct puzzle. Okay. It'll make its way to port number 5. Then to number 4. And basically back to number 1, I guess. Hopefully this is the correct puzzle. Or maybe not. Let me see. But first of all, we gotta change this to something else. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's 2 and 4. Let's just see what happens. In the meantime, we can start delivering some fish into town. So let's set up freight train B. Bring it to a full load. And then deliver it straight here. Which will unload. And basically, once that train arrives, I believe Glasgow will be in good, capable hands.
The secret of the stones has been revealed. Although they didn't teleport you back to 1746. It was only to last Monday morning. But maybe that is better than waking up in the midst of a fierce battle.
Alright, so I was off on the last 2 numbers, so other than that, we are now ready to get started on our net to get the last loads of supplies into town. We'll put in a freight train B, give this locomotive a color, and also give these wagons a color too. And we'll put it on freight train B. It'll just head straight to Glasgow, go back down the main line, and head towards the Molog fishery. Ooh, our earnings are really not looking that good. Because we spent over 2.48 million in basically investments, purchasing new vehicles no less. But hopefully, within a few months, we'll be able to recover all the expenditure that we did. And as you can see, Glasgow has grown quite significantly now. Now it's going to 419 residents. But what about William? Well, it's only going to grow up to 110, but that is totally fine. I mean, it is a small little town right now. So, now that the freight train is basically heading towards its destination, what basically is the story next time? That I do not know. Well, for you, not for me, I don't know exactly what's next. But we'll have to wait and see in the next video. Anyway, the train will round the curve, the passenger train will wait at the signal, or basically the freight train will wait at the signal, while the boar signal quickly races past with its passenger train. And I think we might be able to get a new locomotive pretty soon. Ah, yes, now we have a new engine, the German BR-89 Prius T3, which is a small 060 tank engine. So, we can basically replace that steam engine with this. Although it only goes to 25 miles an hour, it is a much more modern replacement for passenger trains. Okay, once the fishery is up, the train. Oh, I forgot to mention. Now in the game, if the train is longer than the platform, your loading speed will decrease exponentially. So instead of a normal loading speed, it's down by 0.94. So it will take a little slow. It will be a little slower to load everything up because there's one van out on the side of the track right there. But let's see, 5. Let's just basically put it to 90 instead. Now, with that gone, fish will be loaded up a lot more faster. And although the T3 is not going to be as fast, it will still carry its passengers. Because 4628, so the speed is not too slower than the 46. In fact, it's the same speed as the D1/3. Not to mention, my trains are not like fully packed to the brim. So let's just delete a couple of passenger wagons. Let's just basically put 56. It's smaller, but it's much more cost effective to basically serve a population with a smaller train in the beginning than a larger one. And there's also 4 passengers left on the platform. Guess I'll have to add those back then. Guess it wouldn't hurt because, I mean, the tank engine is very small. And it's quite powerful too. We're slowly making up our profits again. Not by much, but at least we are. So let's have a look at our routes. Let's see, which one has the least amount? Freight train B carrying fish. But once the train arrives in the town, it should be able to make enough money to cover its construction costs. Over the crossing, and into the freight station, and coup de grace, we are done.
Thanks to your efforts, the industrial metropolis of Glasgow is really bursting into bloom. The factories are supplied with inexpensive labour, and the workforce with hard liquor and fish. The City Council is grateful and has even proposed to Her Majesty Queen Victoria that you should be knighted. What an honour!
Indeed, it's quite an honor. Just only 2 years since our company began, and look at how much we have grown exponentially. We have 7 on the company value, and I realized we didn't even put down a company HQ, or even named our company. Let's call it Highland Lines. Now, with that out of the way, let's head back to the main menu and see a sneak peek of our next mission.
It's the dawning of the 20th century. The west coast of Mexico at the close of the 19th century. An unassuming spot with an auspicious name, Topolobampo, with a climate milder than anywhere else. Plains as fertile as the Garden of Eden. And in the mountains, untold riches. The perfect place to make a utopia come true. A life of freedom and equality for all.
Indeed. So, our next episode, we're heading straight to Mexico to help build the city of Topolobampo and see what goes on from there.
Mankind is...
So, if you enjoyed this episode of my Let's Play of Texas Gaming Industries Transport Fever 2, Please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to Texas Gaming Industries for new uploads every Friday or Saturday, depending on my outside schedule, and to basically stay tuned for our next episode, where we'll be heading to Pacific Paradise. This is Texas Gaming Industries saying thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!